Okay, so today we are going to be checking in with all of the books that I have been reading since the start of February. Generally speaking, I like to check in with you guys weekly to let you know what I've been reading, but in week one, it just wasn't possible, so we're now going to cover 2 weeks here. So let's get right into it. The first book that I picked up in February of 2021 was this book, The House of Earth and Blood, the first book in the Crescent City series by Sarah J. Maas. And this book ended up being a DNF. Yeah, so I got about 200 pages into this book before I did DNF, but I was struggling way before that point. I was just trying to give this book as much of an opportunity as I could to summarize my feelings. It just wasn't the book for me. I really wasn't motivated to pick up this book. It took a lot for me to just keep going to get to the 200-page mark. I even had a moment where I shelved this book and picked up the first book I actually did read, and then went back to this book, and as I said, by the time I got to that 200-page mark, I was like, yeah, nah, this is just not for me. The writing style's fine, it's really easy to read. It's just my opinion, okay? But my opinion is that I personally found this book to be rather boring. It just wasn't reeling me in, and at this stage, with so many books on my physical TBR, and don't tell anyone, but more on the way. I mean, because why not? I can afford to, be fast and loose with DNFing, and because this book just wasn't grabbing me, and because I wasn't motivated to keep picking up this book, I just DNF'd it. If it does get better after the 200-page mark, let me know in the comments below, and what I might do, rather than rereading, I'll just pick up from the 200-page mark and keep going, but let me know if it's worthwhile going back to this book. But otherwise, for now, it's a DNF. The first book that I actually completed in February of 2021, and that was Pretty Little Liars by Sarah Shepherd. This is book one in the Pretty Little Liars, otherwise known as PLL for short, series, the original source material. So, for those of you who don't know, Sarah Shepherd wrote a ton of books in the PLL series, and then PLL became a TV show. I started off firstly watching the TV show. I absolutely loved it from the moment I started watching it, and I've seen every episode multiple times. So it was nice to just be able to go back and check out, how it originally began. The long and short story of how this book ended up coming to my possession is because my niece and I, we both love Pretty Little Liars. We could talk about it all day, and on this channel I used to talk about it all the time. If you go back 2-3 years ago, we would be analysing every episode, we would be theorising about certain things. We talk so much about Pretty Little Liars, but anyway. So my niece and I both recently realised that we have Pretty Little Liars in common. We both love the show. So she went out and secondhand purchased the entire series, and then basically came over to my place and said, here you go, you read these and then review them on the channel. So I was more than happy to do that, especially with Pretty Little Liars. It's like, yay, now I actually get to read this. I want to show you the next book I read because it relates, and that was book number 2, Flawless. So this is book 2 in the PLL series. So I'm going to hold them up together as I talk about both of them as a generalization. It'll just, make it easier. But both of these books received 4 stars from me. Overall, they were fun to read, although their descriptions in the book are very different to how the characters look in the show. What I didn't expect was how very different it is. There are certain things that do remain from the show, so such as relationships, for example. For those of you who have seen the show, you'll know what I mean. For those of you who haven't seen the show or read the books, you won't know what I'm referring to, so it's not a spoiler for you. Arya and Ezra, for example. That whole thing of how they met, where they met, how that whole conversation went, that's in there. Emily and Maya going on. We have Emily and Ben happening. Emily and Toby situations. And Hannah and Sean and that whole thing. Yep, it's all in here. Here's my biggest complaint about the books that I've read so far, and I do, because my niece has lent me the entire series, I do plan to get through the entire series, so I'm really grateful about that, and thank you to my beautiful niece for doing this. But my one complaint is that the books do read a lot more immaturely compared to the characters in the show. So the characters in the show just seem a lot more mature and put together, where in the books they just seem incredibly immature, and I wasn't really a fan so much of that. What kept me going with Pretty Little Liars, the show, was the mystery of who is A. For those of you who don't know, we have 5 girls: Alison De Laurentiis, Spencer Hastings, Aria Montgomery, Hannah Marin, and Emily Fields, who are best friends who end up having a sleepover at Spencer's place, and during the night, Alison De Laurentiis, who is also the leader of their group and the queen bee at their high school, goes missing. We have a time jump in both the show and in the book to several years later, and Alison is still missing, and we don't know where she is. So that's a mystery in and of itself. At some point, the girls end up, and this is really, with the show, in episode 1, everything I'm saying happens in episode 1. So the girls end up going to Alison's funeral because they apparently found the body of Alison, so they have a funeral, and then at the end of the funeral, the 4 remaining girls are outside, and their phones all beep at once, and they receive a text saying, "I'm still here and I know everything," with the tag of the sender's name being A. And so we spend the rest of the time in the show, and so far in the book, dealing with this anonymous villain who contacts each of the girls together and separately through forms of things like text messages or email, or even just handwritten notes with one-liners here and there about certain things, and signed with A, certain things that they know, and so we're trying to work out who A is. That's what kept me going with the show, just theorizing, not only myself, but with you guys back in the day, and that was a whole lot of fun. And I really appreciate the whole A thing with these books as well. I just think that there are certain things when we're not dealing with A, when we're just looking at the characters as a whole, they were made a lot more mature in the show. I'm sorry, there's really not more that I can say. But all in all, I gave them both 4 stars. I thought they were certainly good enough to keep going from book 1 to book 2, and I will move on to at least book 3 in February, maybe book 4 as well. The next book that I picked up was Wicked by Gregory Maguire. So this book follows the life of the Wicked Witch of the West, who is the main antagonist from the original classic book turned film, The Wizard of Oz. Okay, so Wicked kind of follows, as I say, the life of the Wicked Witch of the West, and, you know, seeing things from her perspective. So when I had found out that this was a musical, I really wanted to see it. I managed to track down the songs really quickly and really enjoy the songs, especially Defying Gravity, sung by, in America, the actress slash amazingly talented singer who plays Elphaba? I believe so. I believe that's her name. Is Idina Menzel. She's absolutely wonderful. So I would love to watch the musical, but since I haven't, what a great idea. Read the original source material of the book. Problem? Yes, I've DNF'd this book, and I'm going to explain why. The earliest publishing date for this book is 1995, and it feels like it was written way before that. My biggest issue with this book was the writing style. It was so incredibly flowery, and it was just... it was too much. It made me get to the point where I was thinking, where are you there? Mr. Gregory Maguire, are you here to tell me a story and for me to focus on the plot, or are you here to show me that you have an amazing writing style? And when I pick up any book, I'm there for the plot. I'm not there for the writing style. The more flowery a book is, the more likely it is I'm going to DNF that book, because it takes me out of the story. I'm hoping to get a copy of the musical at some point, or if they adapt it into a film, to just watch that, and hopefully I can, you know, gain what I want to gain from that. But as far as the book is concerned, yeah, it just really disappointed me. The writing style did. The most recent book that I read was this book, Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger. Okay, so The backstory to this book is that I would not have known about this series' existence without the help of Troy from BookTube channel Troy Reads, who would constantly talk about Keeper of the Lost Cities, to the point that I was like, okay, fine, I need to read this book. And there's a little tagline here in the bottom corner that says, perfect for fans of Harry Potter. So I love Harry Potter, but I did go in with a little anxiety, because it was like, what about this makes it perfect for fans of Harry Potter? Are there things in Harry Potter that I didn't like that are going to be in here? This book is a tome. It is 512 pages long. I read this book in one day. Literally cover to cover, one day. And the reason why was because this book was so captivating. I can see why it is for fans of Harry Potter, and if you want a little more to that end, if you've read Harry Potter and you love it so much and you're thinking, am I actually going to like this? The reason why it is likened, why it is written as being perfect for Harry Potter fans is because it's the same kind of deal in that we have a character who doesn't know who they are. They come to find out that they are more than just being human, and then they're whisked off to a school to learn more about who they are. So it very much relates to Harry Potter in that way. The premise of Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger is that we are following a girl whose name is Sophie, who we open up the book like page 1 with her on a field trip with her classmates and dealing with a lot of different things, because she is under the impression that she is a mind reader. Unlike what the perception of a mind reader is, it's not that she gets to tap into the minds of whoever she wants when she wants to. It's more that everyone's thoughts that she's in the area of directly come into her without her wanting them to. And so it just gets a little, well, overwhelming. She is assisted by a magical being who is of her kind, that I won't say what she is, who ends up telling her more about who she is. And then, as I have already alluded to, she ends up going to a school to learn more about who she is. I loved this book. Oh my goodness. Like, that's why I couldn't put it down, because everything was just so good. Now, we do deal with a magic system in this book, and the magic system is a soft magic system. For those of you who don't know the difference, totally fine. I didn't when I first started out on BookTube. A soft magic system is a magic system where we don't know everything. We don't know the limitations, we don't know the boundaries, we don't know every single thing. A hard magic system, we know everything. We're introduced to a certain ability, and we know all the ins and outs. We know what they can do, we know what they can't do, we know the risks involved, we know everything. Limitations, boundaries, we know it all. With this book, we have a soft magic system, so we have the opposite to that. It's limitless, we don't know everything. It's the same with Harry Potter. I feel like it works really, really well when you have series like Harry Potter, and at least for book 1 for Keeper of the Lost Cities, in that we don't need to know everything up front. It's an 8-book series, so, you know, I'm glad that there's room to grow and room to learn a whole lot more about this magic system. But it just has me so incredibly intrigued that I've already purchased book number 2. It's on the way. I've ordered it. I gave book 1 5 stars. Just absolutely incredible, and I cannot wait to consume more. I've read some amazing books in 2021. This tops both of them. Yeah, had I read this in 2020, without a doubt it would have come in the top 10. It would have been in the top 5, if not the top 2. This book was just such a fun ride from start to end. I loved this book. I loved enjoying this world. As far as plot conveniences, you could make an argument for a plot convenience towards the end, but I don't feel like there were any personally. I feel like every single thing that our protagonist went through, she had to earn. And that's so refreshing for a middle grade book. So yeah, absolutely love this. 5 stars, and I will be reading book 2 in March, because I need more of Keeper of the Lost Cities. But that is where I am going to leave it. These are the books that I've read so far in February of 2021. What have you read so far this month? Let me know in the comments below. But in the meantime, letting you guys go with peace, blessings, and so much love. Mwah! And I'll see you again soon.